I literally, I'm trying to think of an idea for a video and I just can't. But maybe I'll talk about my dislikes, and that'll be enough to push something forward. I'd say off the bat, my mind is telling us to say stop watching the top 5, top 10 tier list, classics, reading lists and stuff. Like, they are just arse cheeks. No offense to the people making them, but they're just arse cheeks. Because all it does for your readers is like, or like, at least in my shoes. Because I've seen so many comments of people saying like, "Oh, thank you," and I'm like, cool for you guys. But obviously, this is a channel about my perspective for me. It's never healthy for me to read these top fives. Like, oh, sick. Here's this 800 page book that you'll never fucking get around to, but it's apparently the greatest of all time. Like, remember, people, you have to read Les Mis, Count of Monte Cristo, where is he? Don Quixote, right? You have to read these three back to back to back. Otherwise, you're not reading. And these three are the greatest of all time, right? And it's like, lad, let's be honest. At some point, reading becomes this sort of like middle class facade of intelligence. It really does. In the nicest way possible, because everyone's buying books rather than reading them at the library and so on. And buying all these books becomes a money thing, and buying all the editions, and at a point it becomes a middle class thing. Yeah. Go to your second-hand shop, will you? Go to your second-hand shop, go to your charity shops. Remember to give back to charity. And that should do you well. But just sort of don't watch those videos. Actually read, That's my take on the topic. Because I'm not really a fan of... I never find myself like motivated when I watch those videos, or like what I want to read when I watch those videos. I think it's just a thing for me, right? Because I obviously have things to read, and it's just not nice like seeing all these stacks of books that I want to read, and all of a sudden somebody busts out oh guys, in like the 16th century some French dude wrote this random thing, and it's like longer than the Bible. Like that, by the way, we need that. We need that. I don't even know what book that would be, but you know what I mean. I think people on these videos all the time, they on the reading list videos, they're always like, at the end of the day, read what you want, because if you don't read what you want, you're not going to read. Yeah, fair enough. But can we also recognize that like taking half an hour out of your day to just watch that video could have been spent reading? And I don't mean this as in like don't watch videos and only read. Because there's probably somebody out there who could comment, "Oh, I watched the video and read like 3 hours today. Bit nice. Good for you." But that's not my experience. My experience is I watch videos because I'm a lazy bastard and to get away from all that stuff. And I'm gonna assume that that's the case for other people, I'm not a fan of the videos. I'm not a fan of the videos in general, because to me it's quite a basic problem, really. Not to like dumb it down to maths or anything, but it's quite a basic problem. Let's just say you're awake 16 hours, right? You're awake 16 hours. and you do all sorts of things inside those 16 hours. Obviously, I'm going to dwindle the countdown, and you don't have a lot of free time in your day. And we have to recognize that if you're in the 20th, like early 20th, pre-war, pre both wars, and you're in the 19th century, it's like just simple. If you've got free time, you're not just gonna bust out your phone and start scrolling or watching a video. And I think it's sort of like a Thoreau-esque point to be made here. Whenever we sort of bust open these videos, like if someone were to watch my video now, this is what I'm doing. I'm telling you off for watching the video, right? You could have spent this past 6 minutes reading, but you deemed 6 minutes not read worthy, but the video is. And it's sort of like you take those little things and they accumulate and they become a big thing. That's what happens when like when you cheat once, you cheat again, or it's what happens when you skip a study session and all of a sudden it all piles up, or you skip training and all of a sudden it piles up, and it's what it's like. So my point being is, like, stop watching stupid videos. Stop watching stupid, especially if you're like, your whole point is, oh, I want to read, and all of a sudden you find yourself doom scrolling. Like, no, lad, please. That's not something where you can say to yourself, oh, dear old me. You can't blame me. I'm just an innocent young chap who found himself doom scrolling. No, it's a sickness. It's a sickness. You want to sit here and try to claim that it's fine for you to just sort of take this thing and just spend all day on it. It's a sickness. Look at this thing. How can it rule your life? I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to be all these things, I want to try all these things. And this is your life. For this to be in you need a book instead, a sax instead, a guitar instead, a journal instead, You can't have this in your hand and be spitting other things. So it's saying, I'm a married man, and you're in a brothel. It doesn't compute. It just doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense. You're lying to yourself. And I'd say, yes, when you take all these reading videos and all of a sudden they say there's 1900 million, quadrillion, trillion, there's more books than there are atoms in the universe, and you have to try and read them all because they're all classics, then yes, you're fucked. Especially if you spend all your time on this thing. All you have to do is put it down. Mind you, I'm not. I'm not free from this burden. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm perfect, because I'm not. I'm tired and I've practically spent the morning on the thing. This last thing I have to do before I have to do the last thing that'll get us out of the house. And like right now, if I were in this video and I would just like bust open the shorts like this and just start scrolling, like I like, what did I just get here? I just got some random shit. A video that I'll probably never ever care about in my life, and an ad for like a casino thing, and then movie clips and shit. Like YouTube Shorts, man. Can we just mention this? I know I'm on YouTube saying this, but YouTube, like, you do understand the sort of time you've took away from people, the attention you've took away from people for monetary gain. That is sick. That is sick, and it's twisted, and it's vile, and it's rotten, and it's evil. It is evil. I would dare go to say, and maybe this is something I really want to make the video about now, I would dare go to say that YouTube and their creation of shorts, any app that had then created short form content when we knew it was addictive, TikTok and YouTube Shorts, to me, is the new opioid epidemic. That's what it is. And for anyone to deny that, I think is for them to deny themselves and to deny the truth. Short form content is the new opioid epidemic. And you'll say, Corey, what about Fent? What about all these drugs that just start lacing and cooking up out of nowhere? Aren't they also opiates and shit? I'd be like, lad, I'm saying you for a reason. I'm talking about the masses, you know? We've all seen that, at least we've seen it, like, advertised, Dope Sick, right? That one with Michael Keaton and that young lad from Narnia and Guardians. And the bear. Short form content is something just like the opiate epidemic, where it's prescribed. I seen Paddy Pimblett in a video yesterday. I thought I'd just watch a video before I go to bed, because I need my kick, you know? And he talked about how iPads were like a babysitter for his kids. I went in the comments and they all, you know, they were like, yeah, don't do that. And it's prescribed by people because we don't know. We don't know. We just don't know. We're feeding our kids opiates, essentially. You know, the attention, the mental like disfiguration it will cause, the attention span that you just won't have. It's no secret to say kids these days are dumb. Kids every day is dumb, by the way. Like, kids in every generation are going to be dumb, but obviously when you're force feeding your kid Latin and you're smacking him on the back if he doesn't get a word right, yes, it's a bit easier to educate them. But, you know, kids these days, if they're being force fed this content, prescribed it like it is a drug, like it is a solution, then when you live in a world that says social media is the solution, is that social media is the thing we should spend all our time on. And then you've got a world that's just constantly dense in the mind of everyone, and just in the economic state, the social state, the political state. Everything is then social media based, which is probably the shit that dystopian writers start writing about. Because, you know, let's be real, is what it is. But when you've got yourself in that situation where it's the solution, you don't take away the solution. You propagate it. You uphold it and find other ways to make it better. Which to me was the same as the opiates, right? Like, you would prescribe them, and then you prescribe them more and heavier doses, and then eventually it warps into fentanyl and all sorts of other drugs, right? Because these types of people, these communities, once they're that far down, you know, you'll search for the worst thing, the harder kick, the whatever it is. And you know, kids on social media these days, let's be honest, like YouTube Shorts is the Instagram, TikTok, but then you go on Twitter and eventually it's just people scrolling, people getting shot. Like, we have to understand at some point. I'm setting up for this one. At some point, as a people, we do have to understand that virtue, that kindness, goodness, a good heart and actions and deeds that were seen to reflect the gods of the times is not a thing of fantasy. It's not a thing of fantasy, and it never was. We have a history, and because media is sort of in our brains and ingrained, in some way we now feel as though being a knight and taking up that honourable code is fantasy. People did it. Monks are currently doing it, where they'll die by their sword. Goodness, virtue, honor, these things, they're not fantasy. They're true. And we have to come to a point where we recognize it. It's no longer a joke. Because, and I'm throwing some people under the bus here, but I know friends who are virtuous, honorable, good, kind, and they spend all day on Discord, all day on TikTok, and I just can't help but think, are we just going to be a product of our time? And obviously somebody could come in and argue a really good point of, well, are you just going to be a reactionary of your time? Well, if these are the only two options, is to be force-fed something so much to be it, or to be hateful so much as to react to it, then what have we done? Then we've created the same political binary that sort of has existed for years now. You're being essentially ruled and manipulated. And I'm not going to pull out the Matrix shit because that's all bullshit. But essentially, you know, there is a sense of rule to it. And there is a sense of a dystopia to it. Because you mean to tell me that our prescription is this. And in the very things that we prescribe, there's content like death. But then there's also content like nature. So man simultaneously wants to go out back to nature and record it and have such a nice peaceful time. And he believes to put music in the back of like a beautiful mountainscape. And then he wants to watch someone die. Essentially. You know, I'm not to say that we're desensitized, but we're desensitized. I don't think people actually know, and this is where I get really objective and grand to it all. I don't think people actually know what life is. Because I interact with too many people frequently that believe that life is money, enjoyment, bills, and all that, right? And you have to understand that if we are to be, let's say, regardless of religion, if we're to be honest and sort of logically based humans, which a lot of people are now, you have to understand the only difference between an honourable knight who wore his armour day and night, who fought for his morals, fought for his code, and lived a good, kind, trying life. He's in the history books. Not because he wanted to, because he was that good. The saints, the only difference between the saints of old, like Saint Anthony, and you, is the time. Obviously, I'm not saying you'll ever be as great as a knight or Saint Anthony or anything like that, but the only difference is the time. Because you now look at the Crusades and sort of say to yourself, oh, that's like fantasy battles. Fantasy battles are based off of these things. Understand it. They're all based off of these things. So it seems to me that honor and virtue have become what one is it? A simulacra, a simulation, or a simulacrum. And that is based on the Matrix, by the way. The Matrix used John Baudrillard for his stuff. And read Simulacra and Simulation. I'm not saying I have read it, therefore I'm smarter than you. And I've just give you another book rec, like those videos. Which is so stupid because, inadvertently, there's a prescription here inside of the social media, which is just, get the fuck off SM. Just call it SM. Get the fuck off it. Get off it. Because that's the drug, right? Get off SM. Get off it. Go be a virtuous person. Go be kind. Go be honourable. And go live by some fucking morals. That's what you should do. Instead of sitting every day wasting away. Because I know the extent of greatness and each and every single person who would dare fathom to even click on a video like this. And not even that, the people in my life that I know. You that I know, you that I know, you that I know, you too, and you, and bloody hell, him and her. So many people. And yes, it's not like an easy fix. You know? But it seems to me as though we've never really had easy fixes. You know? And many people have done many revolutionary things. And it seems today that the revolutionary thing of the time is to reject the norm. But then the norm almost seems to always change. And it can adapt. And I think it can engulf. And so I think to end this video, I'd say you be yourself, you be kind, you work very hard towards the goals you want, and you work, as in you dedicate time and effort and a good amount of it doing said thing with your head in a book, your hand on an instrument, and so on, with a brush in your hand. You dedicate yourself to this work and you get off the social media, because the only difference between you and Van Gogh was the fucking amount that he painted. The only difference. The lad was a scrounger. That's the thing. These days, there's jokes online. There's so much about unemployment. Van Gogh was an unemployed little jit. That's a funny one. But Van Gogh was literally unemployed, fam. Begging money. Begging. It might not even be true. Actually, I don't know man's history, but he's begging money off his brother. Give us some more money. I need the paint. And we look at him like he's greatness. But people these days who are unemployed, we look at them like they're scum. People on the streets, we look at them like they're scum. Van Gogh went to a mental hospital, we look at him like he's a genius. People in mental hospitals today, we look at them like they're scum. We've got this thing where we let nostalgia cloud our judgment. Simultaneously. You know? So it's like, Van Gogh is the one who's allowed to go in that mental hospital. The knights are the ones who are allowed to take up that honourable right. But people these days, if we find ourselves in any sort of similar position, no, because the norm is to be on social media all the time. And it's annoying because to express this opinion and to have even one person see it is to have it on social media. And so much in fact that it's towards the latter part of the video which I spent a good 10 minutes yapping on, meaning you'd have to wait through 30 minutes of your time wasted to even get at this point. Social media is the new opiate epidemic. It's going to ruin everyone and everything. You don't understand the potential you have as a person, nor do you understand how fulfilled that potential can be if you just act. And here's the thing, is that being you and being the you want to be is fairly simple. It is, and always has been, about the practicality of it. A good man, regardless or not, if he feels like he wants to kill himself or if he feels he's on cloud 9, if he walks past a homeless person, he will give to the homeless person. A hard-working man, whether he likes it or not, whether he's having an awful day or a good day, will go through the day and do his work. A loving man, regardless of whether or not he's ready to love, regardless of whether or not he thinks he can love, you'll do loving acts. And that's the thing. with social media, with such a big expression of thought and so on. It's all in here. Everything today is all in here. Every last drop of it. Get it out your head. Get it out your head. Do actual things. Actually be a good person. Please. I implore you. I would love to be in a world that doesn't seem to rot away and sort of let itself end in the constant cycle of thought. Act like a good person. By that you do good things. You give. You be kind. You love. You actually do these things. How do you be kind? You give compliments. How do you love? You be there for people. Serve other people. Get off your phone. Read. Read. Pick up a book. To read is to pick up a book. To put your eyes on a page like this. Fuck audiobooks, first of all. To write is to sit up. Is to sit up and write. Maybe open your Word document, because that's all we have to do these days, because again, we're technology bound. Pull up your typewriter. Pull up your journal. Pull up your ideas book. Just pull up your book if you want to write on paper. Pull up your paper. Pull up your book. Write. Write. How do I write? Write. Like this, with a pen in your hand. Put these words together, and it sounds so demeaning, but it's not meant to be demeaning. It's meant to be the practicality of it. You'll never be a good man if all you do is think about good things. Never. You'll never be a writer if all you think about is writing. You'll never be a reader if all you do is think about reading. You'll never be a pianist if all you do is think about playing the piano. You'll never be a painter if all you do is think about paints. You become a pianist when you put your finger on those keys. You put a painter when you put that paint. You become a painter when you put that paint on the canvas. You become a writer when you put them words on paper. You become a reader when you take down page by page each typesetted, pressed, and printed word and letter of ink on that paper, and you through hundreds of pages. Practicality is important. You have to do the things that make you want to live the life you want to live. And you will always and forever will be indebted as a chud. For a lack of a better word, I know that's what the kids are using. If all you do every day is that's all you ever will be. Because everybody now is a professional phonist. Everybody now is a professional phonist. They spend so many hours on this phone that they have mastered the craft. They have put their 10,000 hours into this craft more than they have any other craft in the world. They are masters at this craft. And you want to know the funny thing? It's useless. It's genuinely useless. It's the most pointless craft ever. I could go on. I don't want to. Get off your phone and actually do some other things for once in your life. I beg. It's just not right. It's not right that we take drugs and act like we don't take them. Everybody, and here comes the hard-hitting final sentence. Everybody who is on social media is no better than the worst of drug addicts. The heroin abusers. The acid lovers. The fen fanatics. The middle class coke lovers. The weed heads. It's not that bad, it's not that bad. It's only weed. People who use social media, you're the same thing. You are addicted. It is designed to be addictive. We're in the midst of a drug epidemic we don't know about. And if you feel you know about it, fix yourself. Fix yourself. Because as we were buried down deep inside of these, the big Stein was off on his island. We're too buried in these to think about anything outside of them. That's why you're too busy watching the top 5 reading lists than you are actually reading. Go write. Go read. Go and be a good person. Now this is the end of the video. Why have you got to this point? Why? I hope deep down nobody will ever watch this video. And they'll do something really practical with their time. Have a good day.